Hey everybody, this is Gore Bolton. I'm the CEO and founder of Land Intelligence, a proud member of the Columbia, South Carolina community. And we are coming to you live today from the University of South Carolina's Columbia Technology Incubator. We have a studio here that is proudly supported by many jurisdictions and entities here, from SCRA to the Department of Commerce. So we thank you all for that. And of course, one of our largest supporters here in town is the city itself. And so we're really excited to have Ryan Coleman, who's the Director of Economic Development here in the city of Columbia. So welcome, Ryan.
Thanks. I appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah, glad that. So excited that we can get out and do stuff like this now after the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I don't get a lot of FaceTime too, so it's good to get on camera every now and then and be able to talk. I think we're at an exciting time in the city of Columbia where there's a lot of great energy and positive momentum happening. With companies such as yours and just with the whole ecosystem in general. So there's probably never been a better time to get out and talk about what the good things that are happening around town in Columbia.
Yeah, it really, really is. And so so we'll get into that. I definitely, but I want folks to know kind of, I think a lot of people hear about economic development. I think a lot of times it's a conversation where people say maybe, how do I get engaged? How do I help? So for especially for startups and especially for founders, which is a lot of folks we're talking to, I think sometimes they view this as something that helps big businesses only, or helps big businesses a little bit more. But do talk about that. Talk about kind of the services and things that you all provide to the market to help.
Yeah. So I've been doing economic development for 15 years, and I've really kind of tried to break it down into silos and simplify it the best way possible when I talk to people. And so I've kind of managed to deconstruct it into 4 verticals. You've got the business recruitment side, which is typically what most people think about. You're going to another city or a trade show, or you're going to visit a company and try to bring them to your area. You've got business retention and expansion, which I think is probably one of the most critical aspects. And that's really working with your existing business community. If you can't maintain a healthy existing business environment, it makes it that much tougher to get other people to come in as well. So it's really about, growing your own at home, making sure that those people can grow and be successful, helping them with their barriers to growth, which in turn, I think helps lend credibility when you are trying to bring people from the outside in. There's marketing and communications. Economic development is a sales job at the end of the day. I've kind of jokingly told people, we're not a lot different than the guy that you see on 6 o'clock telling you where you're going to get your car at. Those guys are high energy. They're sales guys, though, just like you have a business development person in an engineering firm. Law firms have business development people. That's really what we're here to do, is to kind of, we sell the city and the people in it, and that's the product that we're trying to take outside. And then last but not least is the entrepreneurs. These are the people that start things from scratch. I think the entrepreneurship community is probably the one that's the most labor intensive and requires the most hand holding. Existing businesses are established. Usually when you're recruiting a business to an area, it's established as well. They've probably got teams of folks that work for them doing marketing and site selection and things like that. Entrepreneurs, are people who are trying to build something out of nothing from the ground up. They're usually doing it, if they're lucky, they have people to help them. A lot of people are just doing it on their own, or maybe with 1 or 2 people. They're strapped for time, they're strapped for resources. They don't know where to go to find the things that they need. So there's a lot of extra time and effort that gets involved in them. And so, there's a special place in my heart for the entrepreneurs out there, because I know that their uphill struggle is slightly higher than the conventional businesses is. So, it just takes a lot of time and effort. And I think where we really try to come in and help out is we want to help answer those questions and get those responses for them quicker. Help them identify that location that's suitable for them to grow in quicker, because every hour of time that we can save them is an hour that they can put into doing what they need to be doing, which is growing their business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like what you said about kind of the creative, kind of the creative versus the more established. I mean, in the beginning, I've always described it as kind of an inverse curve, right? When you're just starting out is when you need the most help, and you have no idea, you don't know what you don't know, and so that creates a whole nother level of confusion. And so being able to have that help and that resource is critical to the ecosystem. And so so when we talk about that, talk about kind of maybe some of the past entrepreneurs in the Columbia metro area and in Columbia in general, some of the success stories, and kind of what are some of the current trends that you see. So kind of bring us a little bit back and a little bit into the current of how the entrepreneurship process has evolved here over the years.
Well, I think Columbia really kind of started to get involved in this with the establishment of the incubator here. You know, this was a joint project between the University of South Carolina and the city of Columbia. And we've had so many businesses, you know, that have kind of, you know, grown up and cut their teeth in this facility. Y'all are here. You know, we're continuing to grow and expand.
It's one of the first things we looked for.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were looking to locate, one of the first things I looked for was there some level, it didn't have to be perfect. There had to be some buy-in that we want startups in this community. I mean, that was the litmus test for us.
Yeah, and so this was a partnership between the city and the university. We essentially, you know, provide the facility at virtually no cost. So it's $1 lease per year. You know, the university has graciously been a partner in this and has really brought, you know, their expertise, the programming and the education and the administration to the table. And there's things that we work together on, you know, but it's, you know, maintaining the facility. It's a bit of an old facility when we left out of it back in 1999, and I think they've done a tremendous job, you know, of managing to keep it running in the meantime. But that was really kind of the first foray, you know, that got us here, and that's really kind of what started to get the city down a path of looking at entrepreneurship from a more tech-oriented perspective. You know, we've done some other things since then, where the city has a small business office. So the Office of Business Opportunities is our sister department. They're heavily involved with small women, minority-owned business. So they do a lot of things just for the general entrepreneurs in the area. Things such as revolving loan programs that they have, where, you know, trying to capitalize small business to get them, you know, in a position to expand or offer new products. They've done, you know, things with training, next level training, fast track training for small business, doing things like facade programs, which is, you know, something that we've done over the past few years. It used to be called facade program. I think it's the commercial retention and redevelopment program. And that's for like your restaurant and retail businesses where you want that good street level presence. You want some nice signage and windows and doors because you're trying to bring people in to shop. And so it's kind of been just a long history of those things. You know, we've supported the businesses that we've supported over the years is too numerous to even count at this point. I think one of the best things that we've worked on in recent memory, though, was during COVID, you know, there was a tremendous impact to small businesses everywhere. And, you know, we were very concerned, particularly during those first, you know, 3 months about having businesses shut down. You literally cannot go to the gym or a restaurant or a retailer. And so the city, you know, we took $1.4 million worth of city funding and we kind of packaged that into small forgivable loans. And we're able to distribute that out to a couple hundred businesses. And, you know, when I look around Columbia now and see, you know, we don't have a lot of vacancies right now. You know, I think that program was pretty instrumental in giving people just enough longevity to start to skate past those first few months and get to a point to where they could stabilize a little bit. I think otherwise we would have seen a lot more business closures because that kind of led into the PPP funding and additional tranches of funds that came down. So that was really rewarding. We kind of, our office served as a backstop to the Office of Business Opportunities. So we were all pre-approving, checking people's applications, doing loan approvals on pretty much every other day basis, and just trying to get that money out the door because we wanted to make sure that people could survive to fight another day.
Yeah, and that's I think one of the biggest things when you talk about community support, right? I mean, I remember there were during that time there were restaurants that people were just buying gift cards for them for when they reopened, right? So I mean, when you see those types of things, I mean that's what you want to see in a community. So. Yeah. So obviously we're at a time now where things are opening back up. People are coming together again. We're having meetings again. We're having events again. We're getting ready to hit event season now that we're entering the fall season. So lots of that stuff going on. And so what are some of the new exciting things that the city's working on for all businesses? I know there's the founder-led ecosystem you all are helping to support. There's all kinds of tax and business-friendly initiatives in the administration right now. So tell us about some of the new things you all are working on.
I think the two largest things, just from the city perspective, one is the tax modernization work that has been championed by Mayor Daniel Rickeman and City Council, and we've really had to kind of take a step back. We understand that there's a certain property tax burden that we have in the city, and it didn't happen overnight. We kind of got here over a period of years and just weren't keeping our finger on the pulse. And so you realize that, now your tax burden or your tax situations become burdensome. And so the Tax Modernization Committee, led by Councilman Joe Taylor, has really kind of started to take a look at, well, how do we implement a new program? If we can get approval from the state of South Carolina and get Richland County Council to support this, can we take our property tax burden? The commercial tax rate is at 6%, and if we can shrink that down to 4%, 6% and 4% doesn't sound like a lot, but that's actually 35% between 6 and 4. So if you can shrink that tax rate effectively by 35% over the next 10 years, that puts us in competitive alignment with like the city of Greenville and city of Charleston and some of our other peer cities. And so that's a lot of the work that's been spearheaded by them. I think it's gotten favorable receipt from city council. And so they're kind of in the process now of working with the other governmental entities to bring that to fruition. The other program that we've done is the Business Friendly Initiatives, which was just announced about 2 months ago in June. And looking at some of those softer incentives that you can provide small businesses that really help, take some of the punitive edge off of opening a business. So reducing parking requirements. So if you're a business now, restaurant, retail, if you're under 7,500 square feet, you don't have a parking requirement now, so that's helpful. You don't have to go out and source those spaces necessarily. Removing the impact fees. So if I'm a restaurant and I want to open in a retail space, usually there would be an impact fee, which is kind of a conversion of use fee. If my water line is now under 4 inches, I don't have to pay that conversion fee anymore. So large manufacturers and apartments and housing projects will still have to kind of cover their fair share. But for a small restaurateur who's trying to get open in Columbia, that's the ability to save $20,000-$30,000, maybe more. Yeah. I mean, that's significant as a small business owner. A lot of these people are just really kind of, trying to pull together two ends and make that meet to get it open. Yeah. Doing other things like speeding up the business license process is another one. Making sure that our landscape requirements don't interfere with our parking requirements. So now we're not going to force a business to remove existing parking spaces to satisfy a tree requirement. Grease trap program is always another, expense that's incurred by restaurants. So a variety of things like that. And, if anybody's interested and wants to learn more, you can look up Business Friendly Initiatives, City of Columbia, and the city website has good page that has the press conference and it outlines all those things. It's very helpful information.
So let's talk about what's going on in the ecosystem. We appreciate your support relevant to what we're doing with the Founder Institute, and there's lots of other business friendly and startups. Obviously, we're as a company, we're a proud supporter and member of the GrowCo initiative that was started before we even started. So those are the types of organizations. I mean, when I met the leadership of GrowCo when we first started, I mean, I was looking as a founder for initiatives like that where other founders saw possibility in the community. So that was incredibly important for me to determine that, hey, this is where we're going to locate. This is where we're going to put roots down. There is an active ecosystem here that wants to grow. So tell us about some of the other things that you all are supporting in town.
Yeah, so looking at the next few months, and like you said, conference season is upon us. So I just saw something interesting come out from last week. Bill Kirkland sent me an email. So, USC will be partnering with IBM and Verizon. There's an innovation exchange coming up.
They're trying to leverage the 5G.
Yeah.
We're attending that. That's going to be really big for the area, I think.
Yeah, and I get really excited about anything that's technologically oriented because I think, we want to continue to see the city, embrace that and to grow in our capabilities where we can be a tech hub or a cyber hub or, IoT, whatever it is, we want to expand upon that. So, that's coming up. I know GrowCo, who we've supported, we're actually providing some funding for their Builders and Backers Accelerator program. And so they're going to take 10 people, 10 individuals with business ideas, and they're going to run them through this idea accelerator. And I'm really excited to see, what comes out of that program. It's a nationally established program, and if we can just capture one or two folks who have a good tangible idea, that adds so much value here to the Columbia area. And then goes without saying, we've got Grow Summit coming up on October 21st and 22nd. First year that it's going to be a 2-day event, and it's been really exciting to see the evolution of Grow Summit. I remember going to it, down at the State Museum. Matt Vady had it, in kind of a little side room with round tables, maybe 50 people in the room and a couple vendors. And it really has become this thing that I think we all feel can be a marquee event for the city of Columbia. And these successes just breed more success.
Absolutely.
So, as we get through September, October, November, these things pick up legs. I think it's really going to be exciting to see what comes out in spring of next year. But these things, springboard into for the next stage of entrepreneurship development in Columbia.
Yeah, and so what we're really excited about that is, my desire for the community is that we get more founders that create more access to capital, right? So basically, if we'll all work together for attracting, talent costs money is what I like to say. But if you attract the founder and the CEO and they can attract capital, they'll provide the capital for the talent. So that's really where my focus is with the Founder Institute, is that in this ecosystem, the accelerator program we put on, the networking events, the training events, a lot of that stuff is hybrid. We'll be dovetailing that in with a lot of other events that are going on in the community this fall. If we focus on the CEO who's raising the money from investors, that money will get put to work most of the time within a 10 to 20 mile radius of the founder. And so the better we get at meeting the founder's needs, the more access to capital we end up attracting to the city.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head too, Gore. I mean, we have seen for years, and you can talk with the folks at Venture South, with SCRA about, how the capital has been spread around the state of South Carolina. And we have not done a good enough job of bringing the outside capital into Columbia, so working on that. I know the mayor's talking tonight about going after more federal grants and bringing money in for transportation and renewable energy. Any of these dollars that we can get from the outside in, I think, is a force multiplier.
Yeah, and so one of my challenges to the overall community, and those of you that are watching that are a Vistage CEO, I've already asked you to do this, but I'm asking existing businesses to learn how to do business with a startup. Learn how to do business with a startup. If you're an existing business that's successful here in Columbia, figure out how to get engaged in the GrowCo community, the Founder Institute community, the Tech Beans startup community, these accelerators, the builders and backers that's coming up, whether it's the Founder Institute, builders and backers, Techstars, pick a program, right? Figure out how to be a customer of a startup, especially those of you with fairly large budgets, and I know several of you do. Spending $100,000 a year on one startup for an idea, think of them as kind of your research and development and your experimentation group that you don't have to have in-house. So if nothing else, you're helping to support the ecosystem, but you're also helping to keep a founder here. And I think the more that we're able to keep founders here, that keep capital here, that attract capital, but also as we've raised capital, when we go to other parts of the country to raise capital, the first thing they ask us is whether your local community is supporting you or not. Mm-hmm. And so that's why, the letters of support from your office were important to us. The funding that we got through SC Launch, SCRA was important to us, because founders don't necessarily need the largest check to come from our home community, but we need the largest credibility to come from our home community, because that's our reputational credit. And that's, to me, if there's one thing that I would say every founder needs the most of, it's that reputational support from the local community. Because when that happens, all of a sudden the ability to attract capital just blows up. I mean, it's just in a really positive way.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like the entrepreneurial version. We did a lot of shop local programs during the pandemic, and for those, every dollar that you spend in your community, about 70% of that is retained locally. Why shouldn't we be doing that for entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
I mean, if you've made it and you're kind of on that raft and you're established, I mean, help the next guy up.
Exactly.
Let's spend more money with our local startups. Help those guys get up. They pay it forward to the next guy, and that's really how we build it, from the ground up.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'd say that's probably, if I had to say what's my challenge and opportunity for the community, is to get existing businesses to do business with startups, have some flexibility, have some mentorship, have some milestones built in, so that we can actually, because you can't raise money if you don't have a revenue model. And so if we get the more startups that we can help get to a customer and a revenue model, the faster we'll attract that capital. So Ryan, thank you so much for sitting down and talking to me today.
Thanks again.
We're super excited to continue to work with you and all the work you've done. And we'll see you back here soon, and we'll see you out and about at all these events.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.